Good evening and welcome to Sheliyahh, and I am your host, Sheliyahh Janet E. Brown. And we have a special series to present to you at this time. Being that so many people during this time, and even when I was growing up as a child, they always had summer vacation Bible study. So I thought it would be nice to do this for the ladies, but we kind of title it different. And so we're having our summer scripture session. And this is going from today, which is July 25th, and it goes on up until August, about midway into August. So tonight's session is session 1, and it is entitled Butterflies in the Garden. When we look at a butterfly, we often admire and say how beautiful they are. Yet there is much more to them than just looks. They have a purpose and an assignment that is divinely placed in them. And so far, if we look at ourselves, we are butterflies in Abba's garden. Tonight, we're going to discuss some things about these butterflies in the garden. The beginning of the journey for a butterfly. The transformation that is necessary for their existence. They are pollinators with a strategy different than bees, also known as indicator species, and they're also known as living flowers. These are just a few things that we will be discussing in this episode. So we are women, and we have unique traits and similarities to this living flower. So join me if you can, or I should say thank you for joining me as we're going to talk about these butterflies that are in Abba's garden. I also want to bring to your attention apologies that the other podcast, Bet LOA, was offline. Somehow it had gotten archived from the host, and so it was down. So I greatly apologize that had happened. In the meantime, it'll be back up, but presently we are in need of financial assistance. If you can sow a seed so that we can keep our podcast up, it would be greatly appreciated. If you consider it, our podcasts run at each one at $20 a month. And so if you can inbox me for additional information, and also you can send your seed via PayPal to Hayyah Ministries Global at gmail.com. If you really need me, like I said, you can also inbox me. And you can also send an email at hayyahministriesglobal at gmail.com. I look forward to it and want to thank you in advance if you are able to sow seeds at this time, because we are going around the world. All 3 podcasts are producing greatly. And so, now, you ready? Let's begin. Butterflies in the Garden. This is session 1 of Sheliyahh Summer Scripture Session on this July 25th, 2017. I already have given the description about what we're going to be discussing as we admire these butterflies, but we also as women have unique traits and similarities to this living flower, or we should. So I'm going to begin in prayer, and I'm going to start right in. And thank you all for joining in on this episode at this time. I truly appreciate you. And my prayer is that you will be able to glean from this field. I take every spirit in the hearing of my voice under my control, that no other spirit except that of the Ruach HaKodesh will be allowed to speak or manifest during this time of ministry. Thou angels that thou hast given unto me, my troops during this warfare shall cover me and be deployed by me to battle warfare as directed as it is your will. They are fully armored in all areas, and so am I, as you have made it so. Those that have an ear to hear what thus saith Yehovah receive 4 portions, the messages from heaven's throne room. A hedge of protection shall be upon us during this session and upon the conclusion of this season or session of ministry. No repercussions, demon attacks, thoughts, words of non-life, chance, spells shall not have no effect upon us and upon me, his vassal, and unto all the people who hear at this time and later, and that no weapon that has been formed against us shall not prosper. No enemy, mentally, physically, or spiritually, shall get to us during this session. That I shall be restored fully in faith, health, thought, and ready to receive the next bounty unto which shall be distributed upon your people and those seeking you. For we are girded with your faith, belief, your strength, your favor, your grace, your love, and your covering. And so shall the words that go forth from my mouth, that they shall not return unto me void, but they shall accomplish that which pleases Abba, and it shall prosper in the things whereto they have been sent. We're going to be coming from the Aramaic scriptures, and I'm going to be on Revelations 21:5, and there's going to be other scriptures references. But the main one is on Revelations 21:5, and it says, Behold, I make all things new. And he said to me, Write these words are trustworthy and true. We're going to look briefly. I'm going to talk to you about 7 words in this episode, and the words are evolution. Evolution is the process by which different kinds of living organisms are thought to have developed and diversified from earlier forms during the history of the earth. And it's also a part of evolution that we go through even spiritually and in our mindset on things that we have been given to do. The gradual development of something, especially from a simple to a more complex form. The forms of written languages undergo constant evolution, and we as a people go through constant evolution. And you look at words that development, advancement, growth, rise, progress, expansion. The second word is caterpillars, the larva of a butterfly or moth having a segmented worm-like body with 3 pairs of true legs and several pairs of legs like appendages. Caterpillars may be hairy, have warning coloration, or be colored to resemble their surroundings. 3. Cocoon, a silky case spun by the larva of many insects for protection in the pupal stage. Envelope or surrounding in a protective or comforting way. We begin to feel cold even though we were cocooned in our sleeping bags. Talk about wrath, swaddle, muffle, cloak, enfold, envelope, cover, enfold. Metamorphosis, number 4, the process of transformation from an immature form to an adult form in 2 or more distinct stages. A change of the form or nature of a thing or person into a completely different one by natural or supernatural means. Transformation, mutation, transmutation, change, alteration, conversion, modification. There's another word I can't remember right now that I wanted to say because I had taught something about that before in my other episode at High for the Chosen podcast on about Eloah's ODST and his Spartans and about the transformation that the Spartans had to go through. This is from if you're a gamer, you'll know what I'm talking about the game Halo. But anyway, the 5th word is resurrection, the act or effect of resurrecting or being resurrected. And for us, we know that it is about Yahushua, who had rose from the dead on the 3rd day. 6 is on butterflies, an insect with 2 pairs of large wings that are covered with tiny scales. Usually brightly colored and typically held erect when at rest. Butterflies fly by day, have clubbed or dilated antennae, and usually feed on nectar. 7, pollinators. A pollinator is an animal that moves pollen from the male antler anther of a flower to the female stigma of a flower. A pollinator is different from a pollinizer, a plant that is a source of pollen for the pollination process. The Torah is the pollinator for us, to transfer pollen from an anther of a flower or plant. Okay, now the butterfly symbol. It's known for its lightness, the fluttering of its wings, and especially its metamorphosis from a caterpillar into something more beautiful and powerful. The butterfly symbolizes the soul, reincarnation, resurrection, and femininity. The butterfly symbol dates from ancient times and is found all over the world. This is just some history I'm giving you. All over the world, the gossamer beauty of the butterfly, its winged nature and breathtaking release from a purple cocoon have symbolized the soul reborn out of chrysalis-like containment. In classical Greece and Rome, it was believed that the soul left the body in the form of a butterfly. The resurrection goddess Psyche was depicted as a girl with butterfly wings. Similarly, for the Aztecs, the butterfly symbolized the soul or breath exhaled by the dying. Butterflies symbolize the souls of enemy warriors and women who died in childbirth. A butterfly's fluttering among flowers represented soldiers killed on the battlefield. A Kasai, Central Zaire fable explains that the life cycle of the butterfly mirrors human life. An infant is a small caterpillar. An adult is a large caterpillar. In old age and death, a human becomes a chrysalis. The soul then emerges from the grave like a cocoon and flies away in the form of a butterfly to be reincarnated. Australian or Aborigines regarded butterflies as souls returning from the afterlife. In Christianity, the butterfly symbolizes the resurrection of Yahushua and of believers and is seen especially around certain celebrations and funerals. For the trumpet will sound, the dead will be raised imperishable, and we will be changed. 1 Corinthians 15, chapter 52. The caterpillar disappears into a cocoon, appearing dead, as Yahushua was laid in the tomb after the crucifixion. Later it emerges, having transformed into something more beautiful and more powerful than it was. So will it be with the resurrection of the dead. The body that is sown is perishable. It is raised imperishable. It is sown in dishonor. It is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness. It is raised in power. It is sown a natural body. It is raised a spiritual body. 1 Corinthians 15, 42 to 44. The butterfly as fire and sun. Other symbolic meanings relate to fire and the sun. S-U-N. Probably based on the similarities between a butterfly's fluttering wings and the flickering of a flame. The Aztec fire god wore a pectoral ornament of obsidian butterfly. The human warriors of the sun also wore butterfly ornaments. In the House of the Eagles, the sun itself was depicted as a butterfly. Other symbolic meanings, meanings, I don't know why I'm tongue twisted. Excuse me. Apologies. In Japanese art, the graceful butterfly symbolizes womanhood, and two butterflies represent marital happiness. In life, a butterfly is regarded as a wandering spirit, and its appearance predicts a visitor or a death in the family. In Vietnamese culture, the butterfly represents long life. This is because the characters for butterfly and great age are pronounced the same way. T and it's apostrophe I-E. Butterflies and moths can also symbolize desire, passion, and longing, as reflected in the myth of Cupid and Psyche. For butterflies live short and transient lives, display beautiful colors, drink the nectars of fragrant flowers, and their bodies attract grains of pollen. Behold, I make all things new. And he said to me, write, these words are trustworthy and true. Revelations 25th chapter, 5th verse. Butterflies in Yahuwah's garden life cycle. Let's explore butterflies' life cycle in a little detail, including all 4 stages of life. All butterflies have complete metamorphosis. To grow into an adult, they go through 4 stages. Egg, larva, which is the caterpillar, pupa is the chrysalis or the cocoon, and adult, which is the butterfly. With us that have come to know the truth and the light, we are going through the same process, or we may have gone through this process. And I believe that in certain times in our lives, that we do go through a sort of spiritual metamorphosis as we progress on. Each stage, like I said, has a different goal. For instance, caterpillars need to eat a lot, and adults need to reproduce. Depending on the type of butterfly, the life cycle of a butterfly may take anywhere from 1 month to a whole year. Okay, let's look at these 4 stages as it pertains to us. The first stage is the egg. A butterfly starts life as a very small, round, oval, or cylindrical egg. The coolest thing about butterfly eggs, especially monarch butterfly eggs, and I think monarchs are considered as the king butterflies or the royal butterfly, is that if you look close enough, you can actually see the tiny caterpillar growing inside of it. Some butterfly eggs may be round, some oval, and some may be ribbed, while others may have other features. The egg shape depends on the type of butterfly that laid the egg or eggs. Butterfly eggs are usually laid on the leaves of plants, so if you are actively searching for these very tiny eggs, you will have to take some time and examine quite a few leaves in order to find some. They only come on certain plants. When we start out, we are very much similar, and what I mean is that we are new babes, or in the reborning process, if you will, as we begin the process of getting to know Him, getting to know Yahuwah. We have not begun to digest the Word. This is an introductory cycle of Him. He is the Creator. And I mean, it's not that we don't totally read His Word. We do. We're like in the beginning stages of it. And it's like when we always mention that babes are drinking milk and then we need to come out from being babes and start eating meat. Well, we are in the babe phase on this part. And so we haven't really yet, in essence, have not begun to digest the Word being in this egg state. So we're coming to know Him. It's an introductory cycle of Him, and He is the Creator. He makes all things new again. And like I said, it can take anywhere from 1 month to a whole year, depending on the type of butterfly that you are. The second stage is the larva, or the caterpillar. And caterpillars do not drink water. They normally obtain sufficient fluids from the food plants that they eat. Outdoors, many overwintering caterpillars benefit from rain. When the eggs finally hatch, most of you would expect for a butterfly to emerge, but it doesn't happen that way. In the butterfly's life cycle, there are 4 stages, like I said. So now we are in the part that we are in the caterpillar part, the larva, the caterpillars. They do not stay in this stage for very long, and mostly in this stage, all they do is eat. When the egg hatches, the caterpillar will start his work and eat the leaf they were born onto. From what I'm understanding, they also eat the shell from where they came out of. This is really important because the mother butterfly needs to lay her eggs on the type of leaf the caterpillar will eat. So the mother's already provided for this child or these children of hers. Each caterpillar type likes only certain types of leaves. Since they are tiny and cannot travel to a new plant, it is really strategic and important that the caterpillar needs to hatch on the kind of leaf it wants to eat. If it is not, it will die. A caterpillar has just one job, and that's to eat. During this stage, the caterpillar must consume enough to sustain itself through this caterpillar stage or pulpal stage and to adulthood. Without proper nutrition, it may not have the energy to complete its metamorphosis. Malnourished caterpillars may reach adulthood but be unable to produce eggs. Caterpillars can eat an enormous amount during a life cycle change that typically lasts several weeks. Some consume 27,000 times their body weight during this life phase. When we are in this stage spiritually, we need to eat and digest the Torah, scriptures. Without proper spiritual nutrition, we will not have the energy to complete the spiritual metamorphosis, not have the energy to combat the enemy, not the energy to face life challenges and divine assignments to your divine destiny. Not eating the spiritual food, you may not reach spiritual maturity, adulthood, unable to produce the spiritual offspring, spiritual leaders. You will not know how to delegate, teach, etc. The third stage is the pupa or the chrysalis, aka the cocoon. This stage, or the metamorphosis from a caterpillar into a butterfly, occurs during this cocoon stage. As soon as a caterpillar is done growing and they have reached their full length, weight, they form themselves into a pupa, cocoon, also known as the chrysalis. During this stage, the caterpillar's old body dies and a new body forms inside a protective shell, and it is known as the chrysalis. Moth caterpillars and many other insect larvae spin silk coverings for the chrysalis. These silk casings are called cocoons. Cocoons can be soft or hard, solid or web-like, and any of several different colors or even see-through. From the outside of the pupa, it looks as if the caterpillar may be just resting. But the inside, there is a lot going on. There is a lot of things that is happening and is rapidly changing. Now, as we do know that caterpillars are short and they stubby and they have no wings at all at this time. So you are not ready to fly yet. Some people think of cocoons, like I said, as resting places. There is no resting going on inside of this cocoon. There is a lot of activity. This inside of here, it is transforming into a new creature. This is what we should be doing spiritually when we come out of where we were and we are now in where we are as his people. We should be new creatures. The old body parts, the old spiritual part of you needs to be broken down and turned into something new. That is the process that even the caterpillar goes through. This is the part of this stage. Undergoing a remarkable transformation. It's a metamorphosis to become the beautiful parts that make you the butterfly that will emerge in his garden. Tissue, limbs, and organs of caterpillars have all been changed by the time the pupa is finished and soon ready for the final stage of a butterfly cycle. So while you're in this stage here in the cocoon, there's a lot going on. Butterflies have predators too. And like these butterflies, we have a major predator. We have predators of different types. Some of the common predators of butterflies includes, but are certainly not limited to, wasps, ants, parasite flies, birds, snakes, toads, rats, lizards, dragonflies, and even monkeys. A few of the other animals that are constantly adding butterflies onto their menu list are frogs and spiders. We know that for us that the main predator is Satan or Lucifer, and that he has his army, and they can be categorized spiritually as the ones that I've just listed for the butterflies. So what type of predators do we have besides just him? But we definitely have three main ones, predators that we have. The first one is the outer enemy, which is the world. The scriptures instruct us to love not the world, 1 John 2:15, and they remind us that to be a friend of the world is to be an enemy of Yahuwah, James 4, chapter 4 verse. The world is that whole value system which dominates society and is contrary to the ways of Yahuwah. 2, the inner foe, the flesh. The flesh is our human nature with its natural tendency to sin. The flesh is sometimes used in the Bible to speak of meat. Sometimes it refers to the fabric that covers our skeleton, our bony skeleton, the skin and tissues and blood of the human body. But here the word flesh refers to our fallen, self-centered nature. Talking about the time that then was, about the old man at the time that then was the Adamic nature. The old man. And his word said that he creates a new thing. Number 3, the stubborn adversary, which is Satan. Satan is the commander of a large host of demons who are opposed to Yahuwah and who is dedicated to the task of defeating those who have accepted Yahushua and have come to know the truth. The scriptures describe him as a deceiver, a liar, a murderer, an accuser, a tempter, a prince, and an evil one. He beguiles and seduces and opposes and deceives and sows tares and hinders and tempts and blasphemes. He is personal, he is intelligent, he is destructive. He has his own synagogue, Revelations 2 and 9. He has his own gospel, Galatians 1 and 6. He has his own ministers, 2 Corinthians 11, 14, 15. He has his own doctrine, 1 Timothy 4 and 1, even as his own communion service, 1 Corinthians 10, 21. He will do all he can to hinder our lives. He is constantly battling for the soul of us, our souls, and for the soul of the sinner, as well as for us too, who are non-sinners. Well, not that we all fall short of the glory, but I'm quite sure you understand what I mean. And see, I find this really interesting because as many times as I have told people that Hasatan has his own fivefold ministry under the same names. He has his own ministers that are working, and they have infiltrated into the house of Abba. He has his own doctrine. He has his own services that he does. And people follow it just as we follow Yahuwah with much love and just as happy. And he had done so much to even convince people, or tries to convince people, that the Father does not have any power, that he has more power than anyone that's following him. And you see it all the time in the movies. And when you look at the things like that, what was that movie? The Exorcist and some of the other ones. And whenever there was a priest that came about the battle, the priest always lost. I don't care what nobody say. Whenever a priest came in the room, I said, oh, he's gone. It always shows And it really upsets my nerves when I see it, because this is not true. If we truly have his authority and we really utilize his power of attorney, there is no way. And scripture tells us that there are weapons that have been formed against us. But there's certain things that we must do and maintain so that we can continue to walk into that authority and that power. And so we know that he is always going to and from and always taking a report back to Abba. And how do we know that this predator, how does this predator tries and succeeds in slowing us down? And what slows down the fluttering and pollinators of the works of the butterflies? These are questions that we should ask ourselves when we look at certain things that we're attempting to do. Cocoons provide camouflage and additional protection for the chrysalis. Many moth caterpillars will spin their cocoons in concealed locations, such as the underside of leaves, at the base of a tree, or hanging from a small branch. The chrysalis is immobile, so it is important that it be camouflaged into the environment. For example, the spicebush swallowtail chrysalis takes on a brown or green color depending on the color of the environment. Many chrysalids are leaf-shaped and vary in color from yellow, brown, green to silver and gold. Some chrysalids have the ability to wiggle and make a hissing sound in order to frighten predators. We in his garden are provided a hedge of protection through Tefillah, Psalms 91, speaking his words, knowing where the refuge is in his word. King David and the prophet Jeremiah knew that the refuge, and when I seek refuge, and the seeking refuge was in the Torah. We are camouflaged. Even Satan, Lucifer, knows of the hedge of protection that is on us. Job 1:10 states, "Have you not made a hedge about him and his house and all that he has on every side? You have blessed the work of his hands, and his possessions have increased in the land." Understand that we have predators. And how should we act according to 1 Peter 5:8? And it says, "Be alert, be reflective, because your enemy Satan roars like a lion and is walking and seeking whom he may devour." Now that you know the tactic of the predator, you can now make your tactical plan to destroy the enemy or to knock down his plans or keep his plans from being carried out and thwart his plans. So once you write that tactical plan down, then it's time for you to implement the plan. Scripture says, write it down and make it plain. And yes, we do have a hedge of protection. The fourth stage is the adult butterfly. Finally, now that the caterpillar has done all its forming and changing inside of the cocoon, you will see an adult butterfly emerge. When this butterfly first emerges from the chrysalis, both of the wings are going to be soft and folded against its body. This is because the butterfly had to fit all its new parts inside of the pupa. As soon as the butterfly has rested after coming out of the chrysalis, it will pump blood into the wings in order to get them working and flapping. Then they get to fly, usually within a 3 or 4 hour period. And during that time period, this butterfly will master flying and will search for a mate in order to reproduce. The adult butterfly's primary instinctive behavior in life is to search for a mate of the same species and produce viable offspring to carry on the genes. This includes making sure the eggs are laid on the correct host plant. Some butterflies lay their eggs in groups, while others lay them singly because the first instar caterpillars can be cannibalistic and will eat the other eggs. Does not Scripture state a similar cycle for us? It said man and woman shall join and become one. And the Scriptures also tell us to be fruitful and multiply, and we are to making sure that our offspring are protected. It is our responsibility. For your children are not yours, they are His. Butterflies need the sun to warm them before they can fly. Also, when severe summer heat is really bearing down, butterflies need to find shade to protect themselves. They do not do well in real windy surroundings. So if plants, even though that they may be viable or the right species for the butterflies, if they are planted in a real windy area, the wind will blow them past the flowers and the flowers will not get pollinated. And so we have to make sure, even with ourselves, that we must have a steady course. We have to flow straight and on a narrow path. And we need to make sure that we warm ourselves to the sun, S-O-N. We cannot be lukewarm. We can only get the fire and the warmth by being connected to Him in His presence. Did you know that new butterflies fall, but they get back up? Butterflies can see things we humans cannot. And we should have spiritual discernment to see the things that we should see. Butterflies are pollinators. Butterflies are the third most popular pollinator behind bees, wasps, and flies. And in case you have not been aware, we are facing a pollinator crisis. This is happening in the natural, therefore it is happening in the spiritual. The world's food supply depends on pollinators. The spreading of the Torah, the pollinator, is the spiritual food supply that depends on pollinators, butterflies. Remember, I stated that a pollinator is different from a pollinizer, a plant that is a source of pollen for the pollination process. The Torah is the pollinizer. As smart as we humans think that we are, we haven't figured out how to produce food without pollinators. They are needed. Butterflies are an indicator species. An indicator species is one that tells us about the health of our environment. These creatures are so sensitive to change in climate, the presence of harmful chemicals, pollution in the air and water, and other changes in the environment. We need to be indicator species. We need to be sensitive, such as this, when there are changes in the spiritual realm. Things that happen in the natural realm are indicators of things that are happening in the spiritual realm. We need to understand the spiritual harmful chemicals, pollutions, spiritual stagnant water, and discernment of any other spiritual changes that coincide with the physical. We look to indicator species to help us discern how healthy our surroundings are. Butterfly, are you indicating what is going on in your surroundings? So, step out. Time to take stock in the condition of your environment. This is regarding your life, ministry, and business, both spiritually and physically. If your yard church, congregation, area, so forth, is not indicator species friendly, then it is not friendly to you, them, community, and your family. The adult stage of the butterfly's life cycle is a time for reproduction. The adult is also known as an imago. IMAGO. They have fully developed wings and are sexually mature. When the adult first emerges from the chrysalis, their wings are wet and crinkled, as I stated before. They're able to pump that fluid through the bodies into their wings. And sometimes it might take them a couple hours. Some butterflies, depending on what they are, may take them 30 minutes to dry. And then you're ready to fly. Many times when these butterflies emerges from the chrysalis, there is a colored fluid that is released. And this is called meconium, excess fluid that the butterfly did not need. Predictability of life. Butterflies have been around for millions of years. They have evolved to withstand many obstacles they have encountered throughout the years, including predators and environmental occurrences. The dramatic differences in their life stages have given them the extra benefit of the larva and adult not having to compete with one another for resources, especially food. These mysteries to us have proven over time to be the predictable life for a butterfly. Note this, I want to tell you. We can learn from the nature in regards to understanding that we do not need to compete. And this is especially true of us who are ministerial leaders. And really people in general in life. There is much in the field to harvest. Too many of us are doing more competing and comparing fleshly agendas to get the glory instead of edifying the remnants and the people. And also bringing the remnants into the fold. That is the process. There is more than enough out there. That's why Scripture tells us that there's more of the harvest, but there's not many laborers. We've got too many laborers that are competing and lying, and it's really on the dark side and instead of on the side of the light. And you cannot bring in the remnants in that need to be brought in. And we're not living holy enough so that we're living by example, that the light within us should be a beacon that shines like a beacon from a lighthouse on a hill for a sinking, dying ship of castaways and of remnants. And they should be able to see that light within you. They should see Him within you. Those of us that are leaders should understand the indicators of life and be pollinators, going from one person to the next with the word. Help other butterflies to fly. We still have too many in the caterpillar stages and can't pass the first leaf to get to the cocoon state that they should be in. Well, there are some in the cocoon state that are still hanging around. I call them the bleacher sitters, where you have some leaders still have ministers still sitting. That isn't the cocoon stage. If it is justified, so be it. Otherwise, get them out to the field so they can start pollinating. And your harvest shall be grand. When in the fourth and final stage of their lives, adult butterflies are constantly on the lookout to reproduce. And if you understand that spiritually or what have you, and if you are a leader, you should be reproducing you. And when a female lays their eggs on some leaves, the butterfly's life cycle will start all over. And I'm getting ready to close. This is the summary. When we go into the shutdown cycle in a sabbatical, or if you're going for fasting and tefillah, we are in the third stage, the cocoon, the chrysalis cycle. The metamorphosis of evolution, upgrading to be equipped for the next season or seasons in your life If you are a ministry leader, we go through this process. Life in general will take us through a metamorphosis that we need to grow and develop in order to flow in life situations, changes that shall take place and that will take place. We take refuge in him, in the Torah. We think of the Torah as the food and the cocoon for your protection, the refuge place when predators of all types, both physically and spiritually, start trying to come and attack you. After we go through this process, we emerge as his butterflies in his gardens. We are indicators and pollinators. So the question is, what stage are you in Yahuwah's garden? Are you the egg, the caterpillar, or are you the beginning butterfly, the one that has just emerged out of your cocoon? Have you begun to do the work of being an indicator and a pollinator? Or are you a matured butterfly doing the work as an indicator and pollinator? And so now soon it is time for you to produce. It is time for you to leave some eggs on some leaves so that the butterfly life cycle will start all over. John 3:3 says, Yahushua answered and said unto him, Verily, verily, I say unto thee, except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of Yahuwah. Abba, for I have given unto them the words which thou gavest me, and they have received them. And my prayer is that those who are able to glean from this field, that they will be able to distribute and become butterflies in his garden, and that you will be an indicator and a pollinator. And then as you go forth, that you will also be a producer, and you'll be a one that will be able to reproduce who you are, reproduce that which should be. And that you understand that the refuge place from predators, as they will come, is in his presence, is in him, is in the Torah. And I thank you, Father, for allowing me this time, your vassal, to distribute this word about your butterflies in the garden. May the Lord, may he, Baruch atah. May Yahuwah will kneel before you, presenting gifts, and will guard you with a hedge of protection. Yahuwah will illuminate the wholeness of his being toward you, bringing order, and he will provide you with love, sustenance, and friendship. Yahuwah will lift up his wholeness of being and look upon you, and he will set in place all you need to be and complete. And so shall the name, we shall put his name upon the children of Yisrael. And he said that he will bless us. And this comes from Numbers 6 chapter 24th to 27th verse. I thank you kindly for taking your time to come and being a part of hearing this episode at this time. And my prayer, as I stated, that you were able to glean from this field. And looking forward that when you look at a butterfly again, that when you look at a butterfly this time, it's not going to be the same way as you looked at a butterfly before. Rest well in his presence, and shalom, shalom.